Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host or the station. Folks, you're going to want to hear my guest today. Do you need to get yourself together? Do you want to know how to reach your potential? Then you're going to want to listen to my guest, Sherry Stirling Fernandez, who is a USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestselling author of the book, Life Mastery, Personal Progression Toward an Infinite Potential, which has 5-star review on Amazon. And Sherry Stirling Fernandez is also a life coach. Welcome, Sherry Stirling Fernandez, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thanks, Betsy. Nice to be here. Nice to get to know you.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to tell about yourself? As far as
probably
what you do.
One thing is, I think this is really important to me, is that the things that I teach, both to clients in my book, when I speak, everything that I teach, I have proved by my own experience, like I found success in it, and have taught other people who found success in it. So I think I want people to know that I'm the real deal. I really did these things and really accomplished the things with the things that I taught. So I think that's important.
Yes, well, experience, I find, is the best teacher. And when we go through something, whatever it is, I feel that we have more insight into talking about it because we lived it. And
that's like saying that I.
Yeah.
The saying that I like that says in theory and practice they're the same thing. In theory and practice are the same thing, but in practice they're not. And so that thing's why it's important that you have experience in the things that you teach and you've experienced success in it.
Yes, and I feel that, in my own opinion, Sherry, when someone who is speaking from experience, I tend to listen to that person more because they lived through it, and then someone who's just like read about something or went to school for something, but someone who's lived through it, survived, and an example of how you can rise above those circumstances, that to me means so much more. That's my opinion.
I agree, and those are the people that I learned from too. The ones that I have respected and have loved, that have taught me well, are the people who went out and they found success and then said, "This is how I did it." Rather than there was a study on this and there's a study on that. You can find study and information and authorities that will say anything, but I want to hear from the man or the woman who did something and then is going to share what they learned. Because really, real learning comes from experience, right? Real understanding comes from experience. So I agree with you there. I think it's just a world of difference between teaching a theory and teaching what's real.
Yes. Oh, definitely. So I'd like to know, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I've been I'm in my mid-60s, and I've been at this a long time. When in my 20s, I had not a clue. I was just undisciplined, going nowhere. It was, we said it's a rags to riches story. I really do have a rags to riches story, and it's by learning the principles that I teach. But so I've been teaching these. People started noticing my success, and asked me to teach. And when I speak here, when I teach a class there, and this has been over the decades, right? So that was decades ago, and I've been doing this ever since, and refining what I know. And then, but I've been asked so many times when I write a book, when I speak somewhere or teach a workshop, you should write a book. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not my thing. I'm a speaker. I'm not a writer. I didn't think that was a skill that I had. But in 2020, first COVID happened, which is a slight player in it because I couldn't travel, so I was home more. But I just, somebody one more time, I did a workshop in February before the world shut down. And again, someone I really respected said, you should really write a book. And I told Ken, and Ken said, really, my husband, he said, really, you really should. And I just all of a sudden was like, yeah, clear to me. I have to do this. So I felt like it was suggested but also inspired that I have all this information in my head. I'm not getting any younger. I'm only influencing a handful of people all the time, especially during COVID, not hardly anybody, just my clients. And that it was time that I put what I know in a book and put it out there for anybody who would like to find the kind of success that I desired. I desired to have success in well-rounded, all these, not just, I was tired of being broke on money, but I wanted to be of a rockin' hot body and still have my babies. I wanted to be educated. I'd already missed my education years. I wanted to be educated. I wanted to be an expert in certain fields, and I wanted to be well-rounded in education. And I wanted a rich spiritual life. And I just wanted all of these things, and I was going to go get them. And I did. And I've been successful in all those areas, marriage, all of it. And so then I wanted to make sure that other people, if they wanted it, it was available. You know, for those people who are like me, who had a burning desire to be all they could be, that I at least could put down what I knew on paper. And that was, and the rest is history. And then we hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list and the U.S. Day-to-Day bestseller list. And Amazon, we hit a couple of number ones in a couple of categories in Amazon, which is not that hard, but still, we did it. And now here I am talking to you.
That is amazing. And Sherry, what year did you write this book?
I wrote it in 2020. We published we published it at the beginning of, I finished it in 2020, but we didn't get it published actually. It took, you know how that takes us forever to get anything done. It hit Amazon in May, but we actually launched it in last July. So it's been since just July that it's really been, we launched it officially in this July 2021. So it's been
okay, because I want to point something out to the audience, Sherry, that it's very important. You said that you were in your mid-60s. So you wrote this book you were past the age of 60. There's hope, folks. You can't say, okay, I'm 64, 65, I can't write a book. I'm talking to myself here.
Or can't do anything for that matter.
Right, because you know what? I think us baby boomers, we're rocking it. We are rocking being in our 60s and 70s and changing the face of aging, and you are a role model, Sherry. You are a role model that you can write a book and be successful and be in your 60s. I just love that. I had to say that.
Right, and reinvent yourself. It's so funny. A couple of things I'd say about that. First of all, I've done about 80 plus of these interviews, and a good share of my hosts have been in their 50s, 60s, and some in their 70s. So there's a whole bunch of people out there who are trying to make the world a better place. They're taking their expertise out to the public, which I think is awesome. Just love that. But it's interesting to me how many people will say to me and these are hosts in their usually again in their 50s or 60s typically, and maybe 40s, but they'll say with this goal setting and personal development, is it ever too late? And I think I want to say, serious? I just wrote a book, and I'm 66. I'm 66. Of course, it's never too late. And, you know, it's always time to reinvent yourself. In the business world, they say pivot, but in our personal lives, I feel like I've lived all these different lives. I lived this hippie lifestyle, you know, free living, loving, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle, and then I lived this family lifestyle and, you know, God and family and church and lots of kids. And then I had my business for a decade, my fitness business, and started my personal development business. Now I have this personal development business for a decade, and now I've written a book. You know, you can just, life is long. My aunt picked up my book. She's 80. She said, can I still change? I'm like, yeah. So she picked up my book, and she's trying to figure out what she wants to do now, how she wants to change and make her life different, which I love. So, yeah, you're not too old. If you're not dead, don't quit.
That's right. It's a learning process. You know, we live and we learn, and, you know, we're all works in progress. What would you like the reader to take away from your book? And could you give us some examples of working towards your personal progression? Like, where do we even start?
Well, let me start with your first question first. What would I take people to take away from it? That's a two-part answer. One is that happiness comes from moving forward, and only way you can move forward is little steps. There are no great big steps. There just are no big steps. The only way to move when we move towards our potential, we are happy. When we are not, we are stuck, unhappy, miserable, depressed. People talk about it all the time. I'm depressed. I'm stuck. Well, that's because you're not moving forward. Move forward and you'll get unstuck and you won't feel miserable. We all have a divine destiny. We all have this great, marvelous potential, and inside of us is some kind of a need to move towards that. It's what makes us happy. And I spoke on this topic a number of times, and it's interesting how much positive feedback. And people are like, yeah, I see that. I knew it was like that, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. This is the way. You want to be happier, and who doesn't? Move forward. Even little baby steps forward will make you happier. So I'd like people to take that idea away, because we need more happiness in the world. Well, I'd be happier. And that the only way you can change in the world, we've had a lot of upheaval in political and social and racial and all kinds of things going on in the world, of course, COVID. And people are, what can we do? What can we do? The only thing you can do is to improve yourself. But it's a lot, because if you improve yourself, it's a ripple effect, and it will change the world. You can march on Washington, D.C., or you can write scathing editorials or whatever. That's probably not going to make a difference, but you change you, and people are hopefully, affected by you, and that changes other people, and it has a ripple effect and works out. So if you want to make your relationship better, change you. You want to make your family better? Change you. You want to make your community better? Change you. You want to be happier? Change you. It all comes down to being better. But the good news is there are no great big leaps forward. All you have to do, and to answer your second question, you start with one little baby step forward. With my clients, I'll have them start with add a daily habit. What's one habit that you would like to have that you don't have right now? It could be as simple as brushing your teeth in the morning to as a little more demanding as to work out every day. But whatever habit that you would like to develop will start right there. Maybe it's just getting up earlier, or maybe it's prayer, or maybe it's meditation, but find one thing that you want to do, or maybe two, track them, commit to them, and do them until you've got it down, and then add something else. But those little steps, just doing something like that consistently, happiness comes, progress comes. It's the answer to your problems. Not all of them, because it'll create some problems too, but it's the answer to being happy and productive and meeting your potential.
Sherry, I loved what you said. I'm really so passionate about what you said about improving yourself, to start with ourselves. Because, and I'm sure you've heard this in your coaching practice, people say, well, I want to change my boyfriend, I want to change my husband, or, but we can't change others. We can only change ourselves. And I think a lot of people missed the boat on that. I know I did. I certainly did. Yes. It took me until the age of 60 to realize that.
Yeah. I would even go so far as to say it's extremely arrogant to try. And it's tempting. I mean, we all do it, right? Like you said, you figured out at 60. We do it all the time. We think, oh, my spouse would just this or that, little things like, I hate those pants he wears, or bigger things like I wish they were more like this. But it is so arrogant. Like, once I'm perfected, maybe I can come back and ask him to change. Or who am I to know what he needs to do differently, right? Who am I to say that what I think they should do differently is even right? If you marry or your partner is a person who you respect, you have to give them the space to let them do their own progress, because you should be too busy working on you to worry about how they're working on them, right? And again, you change you, and that's the best inspiration for them changing themselves. Now, you can't do it for that reason. If your motivations are, I'm going to show them how it's done, that's bad. But you change you, the best way you can influence your people around you, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, to get them to be different. You change you, they see you do it, and then they're inspired and they do it too. Maybe. Probably. Almost certainly to some degree.
Yes, and people will notice the difference when you start working on yourself. Yes.
Yes, and then when,
some people
when
will like it, and some won't.
Yes, Well, if they feel peace from you, like this, my coworker, my spouse, whatever, they have more peace, or they respond differently. They used to get mad when I said this, and now they just don't, and it changes the dynamics of everything. So even if the person doesn't consciously notice, they'll feel different around you, and it will break the chains of he says this, you say that. He says this, you say that. You get in these little tug of wars with people, all kinds of people. It'll break that cycle because you're different, and they have to respond differently to you. And it will be in a positive way because you're different in a positive way. Does that make sense? If I respond differently in a positive way, the other person will also respond. They have to. There's no option because the old way's gone. The way they used to respond is gone. They have to respond in a positive way. There's a lot more to it, but the bottom line is this. You want to change other people, change you. You want to change the world, change you. You want to be happier, change you. It just all boils down to working on yourself. Not in a, beat yourself up, I'm so bad, I should change. But I'm going to be better. I'm really great now, but I want to be better than I am. And that kind of mindset for a life is a life of happiness and a life of making a difference in the world.
Oh, yes. And the ripple effect is really, quite amazing. Sometimes, as we would like to think we have control over other people, but we don't. We can only control ourselves and how we respond. So I, learned, it took me until I was 60 to learn that, I can't be saying to someone, well, or especially, to my spouse, I don't like when you do this. If you say that to people, I don't like when you do this, I don't like when you do that. But you come from a different approach and saying, if I have a good idea, if you did this, I would really appreciate that. It would make me happy. That's better than saying, I don't like when you do this. And the tone, it's just so, it's just, that's a pearl of wisdom. Many pearls of wisdom that you just gave, Sherry, and I really am very passionate about it because I was pessimistic really most of my life until I'm 64. It took me until I was 60 really to start flipping my beliefs and having confidence in myself and really changed myself. And it's really, we think somebody else can make us happy, but no, they can't. We can only make ourselves happy.
No, and we'll make ourselves happy by being a little better. It's like you can't be happy if you don't have good self-respect or for yourself. And we gain self-respect like we gain from anybody. What makes you respect other people? It's who they are, right? It's who they're becoming. You respect somebody who lives an integrous, good life. You be somebody you can be proud of. You'll have more self-respect. I like to go back to what you said about, other people. There's a time when you can say, there are times when you can say, I love it when you do this. Or if something's really a big deal to you, to say, this is kind of a big deal for me. You can say it once. If you say it twice, maybe it's reminding. If you say it 3 times, it's nagging. And really, if we would look at our partner, if you're married to somebody or your partner is somebody who you respect enough that you love them, let them alone to do their own thing. And just love what is and what's right? Just, you love this person. Robert Frost said we love what we love for what it is. So why are we always trying to change it? Why shall I try to change this person that I love with all my heart and soul to fit my vision, right? Why don't I see what's right with them and let them to themselves to fix what they think is not right? And I learned this of my husband's a remarkable human being, always working on himself. And it came to me once. I thought, why am I trying to change him? He's working like a dog to change himself. He works so hard to be the best he can be. And then I'm thinking, that's not good enough. You should be like this. I'm like, who am I to do that? Right? But I love him, and so I need to love everything there is about him and leave him to fix himself. And that's peace. As long as I'm looking outside myself for something to be different, I'm not going to be happy. But when I'm happy with him is when I'm at my best at accepting him the way he is. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, definitely. It makes sense. And, we are the common denominator in all our relationships. So if someone's,
right.
having difficulty in, with people at work or at home with your family, you're the individual, the common denominator. And, people think, oh, well, if I had a different spouse, partner, co-workers, life would be different. But you know what? You're going to carry your baggage wherever you go. You have to work on your baggage.
There you are. Yeah. And you are, like you said, you're the common denominator, and you're the only one that you have influence on as well. You're the only one that you have influence on. The only thing that you can apply pressure to is you. But I would like to say also, this should be in a positive way. You have to also, I'm asked frequently, and I talk about this in Life Mastery in the book, what about contentment? Should we be content with who we are? Oh, yes, we should. But we should be a person who, I love myself the way I am, and the way I am is somebody who's always improving. I love myself the way I am, but I know I can be better, because we do have to have some self-love and say, I'm good in this relationship. I'm good with my marriage, but I could be better. I'm good with my spouse. I love them the way they are. I think I'm very supportive, but I could see where I could be better. Or I love my body, but I could see where I could be a little firmer. I could see where I could be a little leaner. I'd like that and go for that thing. But to be okay, because otherwise you're not worth it. If you don't like yourself the way you are or content with the way you are, then you don't feel worth, you have the value to change. So contentment plus progress equals happiness. I'm content with who I am.
Oh, I love that.
I'm a person who's progressing, and that's what makes me happy.
Oh, I love that, Sherry. I love that. I know myself. I thought, when I was younger, if I had a boyfriend, I'd be happy. If I had a husband, I'd be happy. If I had this, I'd be happy, right? We're always thinking, we had this, we had that, we'd be happy. No. If you're not happy, no one else is going to make you happy. It's an inner work, people. I don't care if I sound redundant, because I learned this myself. And it took me until my 60s to know this. And I wish I knew this 40 years ago when I was in my 20s. I so wish I knew that. I wish there was people like you, Sherry, with books like you have, and there was life coaches back then, but there weren't. And, just people to tell me, you, the individual, have to work on yourself and be the best version of yourself. And, nobody wants to be around someone who's negative, because it just brings you down. So if an individual is being negative to their coworkers, their family members, you're going to breathe that negativity. And I don't think people realize that.
No,
it took me a long time to realize.
That's so true. Yeah, the two things that I will say about what you just said is, first of all, you're talking about a book that you wish there was nobody there, right? There wasn't. And even if there had been life coaches, I couldn't have afforded one because I was poorer than dirt. But my book, Life Mastery, is the book I wish I'd have had when I was in my 20s. It took me decades to ferret out this information and learn how to apply it. If I could have had it, I hope that I would have taken my book when I was my age. If somebody would have handed me this book, and I would have just devoured it and applied it. If I'd have done that, I'd have speeded up my progress considerably. This is the book that I wish I'd have had when I was 24 and wanting to find out the whole secret and how it all worked. And so I'm hoping that, obviously, that the book gets into the hands of those who also want, and it gives them a shortcut. They don't have to wait for decades to make the changes that maybe you could make in years instead of decades. And the other thing that you were talking about happiness, the cool thing about progress is, you talk about working on yourself. The cool thing is, if I had a boyfriend, I'd be happy. If I had this, I'd be happy. The cool thing is you work on yourself. That's what brings happiness. But you don't have to do a ton of stuff right off. Eventually, you'll grow. But it's just the journey. It's just because you never arrive. Our potential is infinite. You're never going to arrive to your potential. You don't have to wait till you arrive to be happy. Happiness comes with every little step forward. And the steps forward have a compound effect. So it's not like a linear I take one step after another. I do it long enough, one skinny long road way down there, I'll arrive at something. No, they build on each other. So we just start those steps forward. You start with one habit, add another habit, meet another goal, set another goal, add another habit, change this about you, just little tiny steps. You don't have to completely change you just have to make progress. Little tiny steps forward bring happiness. You don't have to just leap to some magic place far in the future. Just starting. And if I could leave people with something today, is to just start. Start with something. There's tracking sheets available on my website. They're free. I've had every website I've had, which has been several over the last 15 years. I've always made tracking sheets available to people because I believe in it. It's a way to hold yourself accountable and to develop daily habits. Download those tracking sheets. Put your daily habit that you want. Is it prayer? Is it getting up at 7:30? Is it reading to your kids before they go to bed? Is it making 10 sales calls a day? Whatever daily habits that you want, put them on that tracking sheet. Not too many at first, but put on a couple. Develop the habit. And you start. You won't even have to develop the habit. You do that for 1-2 weeks, you're going to notice that you're happier just because you're moving forward. You committed to work out. You work out every day for 5 days. You're going to be so pleased with yourself. Right? And the next week you're going to be more pleased with yourself. You're going to feel good about you. You're going to be happier. So I guess I kind of rambled on about that, but the happiness comes in the progress, even little bits of progress, not in arrival.
Yes, I totally agree. Folks, I have to say this to the audience, Sherry. I don't care what age you are. You should buy this book, and especially if you are in your 20s and 30s, you have a book that will help you. You don't have to wait until you're 60, like me, to know. Get this book when you have all your life ahead of you to put this into practice. But it's never too late. So if you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90, get it anyway, because we always should be improving ourselves. And I just so enjoy talking to you, Sherry. Can you tell the people your website, and as far as your coaching, do you do it by Zoom? Can people get a hold of you and coach that way?
I do have a website. It's lifemasteryinfo.com. And you can get, there's free downloads, like I said, the tracking sheets. There's some other free downloads too, reading lists and some different things on there. They're free because I believe in, I'm trying to make a difference in the world. I'm not trying to make money on every little thing I do. So there's no gimmicks. You did a download, you just get the download. I'm not going to come back to you with an offer. Not this week anyway. So those are all available. The book is Life Mastery, Personal Progression Towards an Infinite Potential. It's on Amazon. So it's Life Mastery by Sherry Stirling Fernandez, Personal Progression Towards an Infinite Potential. And I'm doing workshops, and I will mentor people in person, and I even will do Zoom if I've got a compelling reason. In other words, if I find somebody gets a hold of me and said, and they give me, I think that they've got something special, I will work with them. I don't take on a lot of clients. I usually limit it to 5. I've got 2 right now. I just happen to have a lull. I think maybe it's time for me to make a correction on there. But anyway, I do workshops and available for speaking and that kind of thing. I do work with people when they really feel like, sometimes people just get me, like I just think I like that person and I want to make a difference, and so then I'll work with them. So, if you'd like to work with me, call me. Let's talk, and we maybe can do that. So there's that.
That's great. So I want to make sure that's lifemasteryinfo.com, Sherry?
Yeah. Lifemasteryinfo.com. That's the website. And my email is Sherry, SHERRY, @lifemasteryinfo. So you can email me. I respond to all the emails that I get. I always respond. I don't get that many, actually, but I do always respond to emails. If I don't respond, I didn't get it. So try me again. Try me on LinkedIn or Facebook or something if I don't get back to you because something's happened to your email. But I always respond because I'm here, Betsy. My deal is I don't we're financially independent. I'm not trying to build a career. I'm 66. Like, who wants to build another career? I'm kind of out in the fact that I'm still out there trying to make a difference. But my thing is, and really from the depths of my soul, I feel like I have something to offer. I'd like to just play all the time and travel all the time, but I feel like I am called to make a difference. And so I'm just trying to put myself out there, struggling along to see where I can make a difference. And that's what Life Mastery, the book, my program, my website's all about, just trying to make a difference out there and share what I know.
I really love that. I can feel your energy, Sherry, and I love your energy and your passion. I have to ask you this question because I would love to hear it from you. Tell the audience. What would Sherry today, what advice would you give the younger Sherry that you wish somebody gave you?
I would like to give them my book. Say, here, this is what I learned. Now here's some shortcuts. Let's see. If I was to go back outside of the information in the book, I don't know, Betsy. I've had the most marvelous life, and I really feel strongly that if you like who you are, you have to like everything that happened to you and everything that you did. Not that you're always proud of it all the time. I don't think there's a lot that I would say. Probably if I had just any one thing I would say is to enjoy my children a little bit more. I was always so driven and pushed. I did enjoy my children, and we did a lot of family time, but you can't spend too much time with your kids. And I wish I'd have enjoyed them more and pushed a little less maybe. And otherwise, other than that, I'd give myself my book and say, do this. Now here's a shortcut. You can just do these things and save yourself a lot of grief. But there's a lot of value in the journey. So while I say it took me decades to learn this, there's value in that too. I would like to have the shortcut, but there's value in struggling it out for yourself, trying to find the little bits of truth and how to apply it for yourself. There's some value in that.
Yes, our experiences, whether they be good or bad, they make us who we are and help develop our character. And like, I love when people like you, Sherry, write a book and you lived it and you want to help people. So I just love when people share their stories and want to help other people. And, we learn from each other. And I just think that it's, wonderful when someone says, hey, you know what, I lived this journey and I want to share it so that I could spare someone else some heartache and grief. And you can learn from my experience. I just love when people, do that. I really do. Yes. It's very inspiring to me. And that's why I like and I prefer when people have that life experience talking about it. Like I said earlier, not just the book knowledge, but they really lived it. And you can tell the difference. I do. I can tell the difference.
I'd like to, if I could say something about that I think is important. I love what you said that and the value in getting your mentoring, your help from somebody who's lived it. We have a glut of people who are life coaches, and I don't know what they're doing, but they're not people who have found success. I see people who are not successful people who are trying to tell other people I'm going to be a life coach. I don't know how that works, but I would, if I could give your listeners an advice. Obviously, I'm not looking for a lot more clients because I can't take a lot of them. So I'm telling you this as a truth. Find somebody who is on higher ground than you are. Don't go to just anybody who says they're a life coach. It doesn't mean anything unless they've got real life experience and success. In my family, we have this joke about that. It's kind of a metaphor for that. Don't hire a fat trainer. If you're going to do a personal trainer, you want somebody in shape, right? If you want a financial advisor, you want somebody who's financially independent. Get your advice from somebody who has already found success in that thing. And let's let these 25-year-old life coaches, give them a chance to percolate for a few more decades. Right? So
Yeah. That's for sure. I mean,
because you have people out there telling people how to live that don't know what they're talking about. They just read it in a book, or they think this sounds like a good idea, but it's not useful. It's not real. Real knowledge comes from practice, not just information. So I would just beg your clients, yes, please find yourself a mentor or a coach. They're marvelous. A marvelous way to improve, whether it's one through books and talks or one in person. But just make sure there's somebody who has applied what they're teaching you successfully. Look at their life and don't be afraid to ask them. And this guy, talks about how much he knows about marriage because he's been married 3 times. You don't know anything about marriage. You know a lot about divorce, right? That's what you know about. Make sure that you're getting your advice from people who are, I just can't say it strongly enough. I'm quite concerned about the people who might be spouting false advice out of their lack of their own experience.
Yes, that's very, very true, Sherry. I totally agree. I hear people involved with caregiving since I was a caregiver, and I definitely could tell a difference when someone who is just doing it from book knowledge rather than living it. It takes someone who has lived through caregiving and survived it to be able, they're the experts in talking about it. And that's great advice. I know at the age of 64, I'm 64, personally, if I was looking for a life coach, I know I wouldn't be going to someone younger, like a 30-year-old, because they haven't lived life yet. I know I didn't at 30. I want someone who's lived life.
Right. I think your example about the caregiving is perfectly. Nobody can know what that's like. It's a perfect example, beautiful example. No one can have a clue. I can't know what it's like. I've wondered how people do it, I can't know what that's like. I can't give somebody advice on that. I don't know what that's like. So this does not make me popular, by the way, Betsy. I say this a lot on a lot of interviews. I said I've done about 90 interviews, and I say this quite a bit about make sure that you get a coach or a mentor who's on higher ground, and don't be afraid to ask them. I say it a lot. It does not make me particularly popular, I suppose, in the coaching world, and I'm sure that it's frustrating to some people, but I can't. It's the truth. I just can't back off of it because I feel so strongly about it. Real knowledge, a real teacher, a teacher learns something. They practice that something successfully, then they teach it. That is the natural course. We have people jumping from learning something right to teaching it without practicing it first, without applying the experience to it.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. If I was looking for a life coach, I want someone with life experience and not just talking off the top of their head from something they read in a book.
Right. You'd want me, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You want me to be your life coach because I've done it, assuming it's something that is the areas that you want to work on. And I can say, and I say this just because I want to make sure that you understand that I am authentic, but I have a beautiful, beautiful marriage, 44 years. My kids are rock. They're not perfect. They do things differently than I like, but my family is tight. My health, if you see, like one of my hosts said, he said, I looked you up and you still rock a bikini. I do. I'm 66 years old and I can rock a bikini. I have my finances are really without ceiling. I don't have I'm not a bazillionaire, but I have whatever money that I want or need is always available to me. I have been educated myself, so I'm educated in a lot of areas. I have a lot of expertise. So I really have practiced all of these things. And it's hard to find, but that's who you're looking for. And you're not going to, like you said, you're not going to find it in a 25-year-old.
Right. Oh, I want to thank you, Sherry Stirling Fernandez, for coming on my show, for writing your book, Life Mastery, Personal Progression Toward an Infinite Potential, on Amazon, folks. So go check it out and go look on Sherry's website. And this information will be in the blog, so please read the blog. It is lifemasteryinfo.com, which will be in the blog. So thank you, Sherry Stirling Fernandez, and best wishes to you. I enjoy talking to you so much. You're welcome.
Talking with you too, and good luck with your program and the things I know you're trying to do. I know you're trying to get out there and make a difference. And good luck to you and that, and good for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Folks, if you missed any of this podcast, you can catch it again on your favorite podcast outlet. And it is free to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy, wherever you hear your podcast, Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon Music, just to name a few. And I want to thank Jeannie White, station manager at Passionate World Talk Radio, for producing the show, writing the blog. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who is CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible, who believes in giving people an opportunity to be heard, which I am grateful for. We need to share our stories, folks. We can make a difference. You as an individual, yes, you can make a difference. You can improve your life. You have the power. You have the power to change your own life. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't, because you do. And I highly recommend you reading Sherry Stirling Fernandez's book. And I want to thank everyone for listening. And please continue to listen and share. Please go on and give my show a 5-star, hopefully, review, because I want the show to get out there to help people. That's what Chatting with Betsy is about. It's about helping other people by providing resources to help other people that I wish I knew about, whether it's last year or when I was in my 20s. Believe me, I wish there was a Sherry Stirling Fernandez 40 years ago. I wish there was people telling me about I had the power to change my life, that and only I alone can change my life and make myself happy. I wish there was somebody like that. So that's why I'm giving you the resources so you know that you can change your life and you can make yourself happy. And, you know, if you change your life, you can change the world. It starts with one step, folks. And don't think you can't do it, because you can. So that's what I want to say. In a world where you can be anything, be kind, folks. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye, everybody.